Okay, we have just opened the meeting and do roll call first. Kathleen DeWolf,
Present.
Paula Hancock,
Present.
and Mardine Badger. Here also is Susan McLeod, our land use assistant. And David Farnham is here and Andy Fitch is here. First, let's do our minutes of February 24th. Okay, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I don't have the minutes. They weren't in my package.
Okay, wait a minute. I do have them here. I can put them up.
Okay. Paula, do you have them?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I can make a motion to accept them, to accept the February 24th minutes as distributed.
Okay, I thought I had just a minute here. I thought I also had them here. No, I guess I don't have them to put them up. Just a minute, and I will get them and share them on the screen. Share screen. You and share. Okay, we'll just review them quickly here.
Okay, yep.
Let's see if I can move them over and enlarge them a little bit. There. First part was the review of the application form. Mentioned the OSI webinar process that they're doing. We talked about the digging into 155E webinar. There were some corrections, clarifications I made through here.
Okay.
And mentioning an upcoming webinar on workings of the planning board and with a brief update of the zoning board. And that was it. It was
Okay.
short minutes.
I read them online. I don't have a
okay.
hard copy. Now that
Okay.
I see them, I don't have a hard copy.
Okay. Okay.
I have.
So Paula made the motion. I'll second it.
Okay.
And roll call vote. Paula Hancock.
Aye.
Ooh. Just a moment here.
Now we got some feedback.
We've got some feedback. Let me just see if.
Do you have feedback now?
Yes, yes. Let me just try. Okay, let me just check something.
Oh, it's Paula.
It's come, okay. Just a minute here. Okay, Paula, it's coming from you, I think.
What do I need to do? I'm unmuted.
Maybe just turn your volume down a little bit for one.
Okay. Is that better?
No. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're voting on the minutes. Paula said aye. Kathleen?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. Okay, just a moment. Paula, for just a moment, I'm going to mute you. You'll still be able to hear me. Okay, everybody still should be able, even if on mute, they should be able to hear me. I'm going to okay.
That's why. Duh.
Okay. Just a moment here. Okay, Mr. Farnham, can you hear me? Have you silenced your phone? Dear. I can't unmute him. Okay.
Yeah, the symbol is that he's muted. I don't know whether he.
Yes, and I did that, but I should be able to unmute him.
Okay.
And I'm not able to. Okay, we've got the minutes done. Mr. Farnham, do you have your phone on silent? If you do, could you turn your speaker back on? I should be able to do it. Okay, just a moment. Okay, you hold just a moment, everybody. I'm going to mute myself for a moment.
Okay.
So again, Kathleen, you have dancing pig feet behind you.
Jazz hands. Wait a minute, which jazz hands? This jazz hands? There he is.
There he is.
He always wants to be sideways.
Okay, I'm going to, Mr. Farnham, we're having problems hearing you, getting you back on our speaker. So I'm going to put you in a waiting room for just a moment and then bring you back into the meeting. Okay, so. Okay.
Okay, now admit.
Now admit. No, it's still muted.
Last one.
Yeah. See, he's just on the phone.
Okay, can you talk at this
I'm going
point?
to try talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm,
That's all right. Yeah. Okay.
it's either that or he
Yeah.
has to hang up and call.
Yeah. Mr. Farnham, I hope you can hear me. We are having issues with the sound with your connection. Would you be able to hang up and then dial back in?
Okay, he did understand.
Okay. Yeah, can't hear me. Okay, and I'm gonna. Paula, will you unmute yourself also? Huh. Is there a fan or something going with your computer?
No.
Okay. Huh. Okay. While you're not talking, if you could mute yourself, and then when you need to talk,
I can do that.
yeah, okay. Okay.
Oh, I've been in that situation.
It's, yeah. Okay, there we go. Here comes Mr. Farnham back in. Mr. Farnham, can you hear us now?
Yeah, how you doing?
And, okay, I apologize for the technical difficulties here.
No, I could hear you guys the whole time.
I know, but we couldn't, I had silenced you for a moment. I was trying to check out a problem and I couldn't unsilence you. Okay. We are now on the agenda at our site plan review application for Farnham Towing and Recovery, which is located at tax map lot 017-008-002 at 6 Mill Street and property owned by Squam River Hydro. The first thing we need to do as a planning board is vote to accept the application if we feel there is sufficient information on the application to begin the process. So I will accept a motion to accept the application as complete.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Okay, just for information for Mr. Farnham, what this means, this step in the process is to confirm that the application that we have received has sufficient information for us to move forward. So we are accepting it as completely filled out in a sense, is what that means. So roll call vote, Kathleen DeWolf,
Aye.
Paula,
Aye.
and Mardine Badger, aye. Okay. Now, at this point, at 6:45, I'm going to open the public hearing. And again, some more information for the public who is listening. As I said, this is a site plan application for a change of use in a change of a business in a commercial location. It is at the building on 6 Mill Street owned by Squam River Hydro. And the applicant is Farnham Towing and Recovery. David Farnham here is the applicant. The notice for this application submission and public hearing was previously noticed on the town website and at the post office and in the Laconia Daily Sun. We sent out abutter notices to all the abutters, and there were, I believe, approximately 20 abutters. And I think we've received approximately half of the cards back. Is that close enough, Susan? I
Yeah,
think we've
there were two more today.
Two more?
in today's-
Okay,
so We're
okay.
getting close to the
yeah,
ones
I
we
think-
usually get back.
yes, okay. So that is how it has been posted and published. First of all, Mr. Farnham, could you explain your business and
Sure.
what your application is about?
Sure. So we do public towing, obviously, and recovery work. You know, you go off the road, flat tire, lockouts, jump starts. We work close with many garages in Ashland. Buskies, Winter Street Motors. We're hoping as soon as, if it gets approved, we're going to be working with the police department doing, you know, DWIs, stolen cars, stuff like that. Insurance tows. We've done a few in the town already. We did that bad wreck by Village Pizza. That was done by me. I've worked many storms out working on 132 there, opening 132 for the plow truck. Pretty much, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. Cleaning up scrap, junk metals in people's yards. That's about the gist of it.
Okay, just a moment here.
Sure.
I'm going to bring up your application on the screen. I know that you're on the phone, Mr. Farnham, but I am, for those who are viewing by video, I am able to bring some things up on the screen for people to see. And I do have here a copy of your application. Could you explain on your application, there was one section that was description of your proposal. And I'm going to read what you wrote. Farnham's Towing and Recovery offers towing and works with local police department and fire department with accidents, recoveries, handful of local auto repair facilities, helps the town remove junk vehicles, auto recycling, 24 hours on call availability. Okay. You've mentioned the towing, you've mentioned lockouts, flat tires, and so on. One phrase in your description I would like to ask you more about, and what do you mean by auto recycling?
Like if somebody calls us, they have a junk vehicle in their yard, we'll come pick it up. Depending if it's worth anything, we'll take it in. You know, we'll pay them for it if it's worth anything. If not, we'll take it to Steen Gilpatrick's in Bridgewater. That's the recycling part. We just move it from there to there. We just basically tow it.
Okay. What I'm having an issue with is auto recycling in some situations involves taking parts, selected parts off of vehicles to resell. Do you do some of that?
A small amount we will, like good tires, maybe a good battery. We don't do it on a massive scale, that's for sure. You know, so if we're taking some of the junkyard and somebody wants a door, I mean, we'll take the door off and sell it to them. I mean,
Okay. Questions from anyone else? Anytime you can jump in.
What do they mean by, what does he mean by helps the town remove junk vehicles? What's he mean by the town?
I've had a lot of, shall I say, people in the town, not just that, apartment buildings, stuff like that. I've had tons of calls, tenants leaving cars behind or stuff like that, appliances, stuff like that. So I pretty much just help out, get rid of that. I mean, I don't know how much it helps the town, but I mean, it definitely makes it look a lot better.
Okay, I took it as meaning that was somebody, you did it at the bequest of somebody within the town government. That's what most
No,
people.
right, not within the town government. I have also talked to the local PD about working with them, as I stated before, but that'd be with the fire department and the police department, but I didn't want to do that before opening my business. I didn't want to start just doing stuff like that, so that's why I'm holding off.
Mr. Farnham, I have a difficulty with that type of activity, and I'll tell you why. As you know, our fire chief, Steve Heath, and some inspectors from the state fire marshal's office recently inspected the building that you were working in.
Yeah,
And
I'm reading it right now.
okay, I sent the we got the inspection report just today. And I did send you a copy as soon as I got
Yep.
home. On the bottom of the first page, and I'm going to bring this up onto the screen so that others can see it also, so our board can see it. Okay. Just a minute here. Share screen. Okay. Okay. Enlarge it a little bit.
Page 2.
Okay. On the inspection report, at the bottom of the first page, where there's the heading construction type / occupancy. At that part, and then it continues on to the next page. The sentence that reads, the use of the facility at the time of the inspection was as a repair garage where cars and trucks were disassembled for parts and snowmobiles and other types of vehicles were repaired or disassembled. Do you do disassembly of vehicles?
Yeah, like I said, not on an industrial level. I mean, we'll do a car maybe once a week, if that. Not fully disassemble, like I said. I mean, I work on my own stuff in there also. We're not setting up to be a repair facility, that's for sure.
No, I understand that. But it's the disassembly.
I do a lot of snowmobiles also.
Mhm, mhm. And do you stockpile some of the parts that you do take off the vehicles?
Snow machine parts. That's about it. I don't have any stocked auto parts. Yeah, I don't have any really stocked auto parts. Some tires, some batteries.
And are you then selling them or bartering or trading them or some way for other people?
Yep.
Okay. Let me explain why we're having an issue.
Sure.
I'm going to close this item for a moment. And again, I will explain what I'm showing, Mr. Farnham, understanding that you can't see it, but I will explain it and read it. We have to go by the zoning ordinance that is adopted by the voters of the town.
Sure.
And section 3.5 is titled junkyards. And then there is a long definition. And let me read it to you. Junkyard or automotive recycling yard means an establishment or place of business which is maintained, operated, or used for storing, keeping, buying, or selling junk, or for the maintenance or operation of an automotive recycling yard. And another quote from there, junkyard also means any place of storage or deposit, whether in connection with the business or not, which has stored or deposited 2 or more motor vehicles which are no longer intended or in condition for legal use, or used parts of motor vehicles. Junkyard shall also include any place of business or storage or deposit of motor vehicles purchased for the purpose of dismantling the vehicles for parts. This is where I think we need some more clarification. And let me explain a couple things. I know a lot of people think junkyard, they think right away of a large fenced enclosure with piles of rusted old cars and so on. And it actually is not just that. There is also the partial part of the definition that deals with automotive recycling. And our ordinance comes, some of the language in our ordinance comes from the state RSA, which is some of the state laws. And they also describe very similarly, they use the terms automotive recycling as disassembling cars, having parts that are sold or bartered or in some other way transferred to other people, so that it is a business of dealing with parts, disassembling and then dealing with the parts. And I think this is where we are having an issue with, is this some of what you are doing? So that's our dilemma at this point. There is a long RSA. And again, it defines automotive recycling yard as primary purpose of which is to salvage multiple motor vehicle parts and materials for recycling or reuse. And it involves storing and keeping, storing and selling, trading, or otherwise transferring junked, dismantled, or wrecked motor vehicles or parts thereof. That comes from the state law, the state RSA, and it's RSA 236:112. Now, our zoning ordinance at that very first sentence in the zoning ordinance actually states that junkyards are not allowed in the town of Ashland. It says junkyards are prohibited in the town of Ashland. And our zoning ordinance definition includes automotive recycling. So that's, as I said, that's our dilemma with understanding this application and determining what to do with it.
Now I spoke to somebody else. Now is Buskey's, don't they have a salvage permit?
Okay, and I'm glad you asked that question because it does need some clarification. Buskey's does have that kind of permit. They existed several years before the town instituted zoning. So they are grandfathered. As long as they continue operating their business, they can continue with specific inspection criteria that is performed by the select board every year. But because they were in existence before the zoning ordinance was put into effect, they are what's called grandfathered. So that's the situation there. And I'm glad you asked that because it needed to be clarified, particularly for anyone else listening also. So go ahead.
Now, does that stay with them, or is that something that's transferable, or how does that work?
That is not transferable. No, that stays with them. And it is only for them. And as I said, if they stop doing that part of their business, then that permit would no longer
Lapse.
be applicable. It would lapse. Kathleen or Paula, if you've got any questions, comments, please.
No, I was just going to suggest that we offer the state statute that, that he could Google and read it himself.
In fact, I will email it to him. I will email
Okay.
it to you, Mr.
Okay.
Farnham.
Sure.
But
Maybe we should clarify how these ordinances come to be.
go ahead, Kathleen.
They're part of a warrant article. under the land use heading, and it's put to vote to the town, and the town, the majority votes or say aye or yea or nay on what ordinances they want to have imposed in the town. So it's done by, on the ballot by vote by the registered voters in town. It's not done by the planning board, the ZBA, or the Board of Selectmen.
The first zoning ordinance, I think, came into being about 1985. And the 1986 zoning ordinance was amended, and that's when the sentence came in that junkyards are prohibited in the town of Ashland. So that came into effect 1986. Susan McLeod, our land use assistant. Yes.
And just to distinguish the difference of what you're going through right now is a site plan review. The planning board can waive certain criteria or standards when reviewing something as a site plan, because that is not voted in by the town voters. It is created by the planning board, and then through public hearing comment periods will amend or revise them. However, the planning board can't waive or change anything that's in the zoning ordinance. So the fact that it's in the zoning ordinance means the planning board cannot waive what the zoning ordinance says. If it was in the site plan review, what you are going through at this moment,
Such as which is the
conditions
application.
or other
Yeah.
parts of it could have been waived. So that's sort of the dilemma, that the planning board cannot go against the zoning ordinance and what it says. That's why a zoning board of adjustment was created, that every town that has a zoning ordinance has to have a board of appeals that can grant either a special exception or a variance of the zoning ordinance for you to be able to do when it says that you can't do it in the zoning ordinance. So there's many layers to this, and junkyards in particular also have to be approved by the selectmen in order for the state to approve you to be operating. So it gets kind of complicated as to all the players involved. So really clarifying exactly what business you are conducting. Again, it's always trying to find the balance of encouraging businesses and actually encouraging salvage yards as a very positive thing to do with what other people would consider junk. But the balance has to be the proper location for it and to follow the standards that have to be followed. So that's what we're trying to get a clear clarification to be able to guide you in what you have to do next for your business.
Sure.
The RSA gets, as Susan said, if junkyards were allowed in town, and if this is what this were, as she said, the application actually has to be approved by the select board. And there is an element that has to be done by the zoning board. But in addition, there are, in the RSA, there are a lot of detailed requirements for such an operation. And again, keep in mind that they include our old thought of junkyard, they include automotive recycling, all of that under this RSA. It includes location requirements such as it has to be more than 300 feet from the right-of-way lines of a class 4 or 5 road. It has to be 660 feet from the right-of-way lines of a class 1, 2, 3 road. It's got to, if it were an outdoor facility, there are requirements for fencing. There are requirements for access and so on. So it's, and as I said, I will email that RSA that explains all of that.
Yeah, that'd be terrific.
I will also mention that if we were if we were to deny this application, there is an appeal process that would go to the zoning board. And then they would hear your appeal and render a decision, and then it would likely come back to us. But the issue, as I said, the issue is the recycling of parts from motor vehicles. That is one of the big issues, which
Right.
which automatically classifies it in our town language and in state language as a junkyard.
Right. I see the problem.
Yeah, there's again, one other state player in this. If you needed to continue as auto recycling salvage, you need a DOT license, which again is incumbent on getting permission from the town board of selectmen. But because of the location of where you are, which is right there on Ames Brook and Squam River,
Right.
the Department of Environmental Services has a say in the operation as well. They've been through those various buildings any number of times to check drains and where the water goes and where anything that's on a floor goes when it goes into the drain. And they too would be involved in some fashion and again, it's not all on you, it's on the property owner.
Well, that's right.
Let's
So
make it clear that a lot of this and a lot of the safety issues that you just got a copy of fall back to the property owner to
Absolutely.
take care of, not you as the tenant business.
Right.
You're gonna have to be working with the property owner for this.
So pretty much it's mostly just the location. That's going to be the biggest factor.
Yeah, it can be problematic, especially because you are certainly in the water protection zone where DES has a big say in how you contain whatever fluids are coming out of these vehicles, even if you just park something and it starts to leak. And again, sometimes it seems it's not quite balanced, because if you were just a private citizen with a junker of a car that leaked all the time, you may or may not get in trouble, but as a business, you would be. So,
Right.
so this is all the players that come into this whole situation that we have to work our way through to best advise or make decisions about how your business can exist there, or maybe it isn't the best location, but that's all the questions that have to be answered and addressed, and you should know all of the things that are involved.
Right. Is there anywhere more feasible, or is it just a shot in the dark, or?
As far as another location in town, I don't know, and I'm I would not want to recommend any place or not recommend any place. That's
Right.
unfortunately not our responsibility. But
Right.
the issue still comes back to, if you are recycling parts from automobiles for sale or whatever, it does fall into our definition in our zoning ordinance of junkyard or automotive recycling. And our ordinance also forbids that type of business in the town of Ashland. So that's the other element. And so that, but as far as other locations, I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't received any actual input from any abutters.
No, we haven't.
Again, in the past, there had been a written citizens' concern about even vehicles parked outside and leaking various fluids, of which again, and you probably have dealt with our building inspector, who is also trying his best to find a way to have the best outcome for everybody in this situation.
Right, yep.
Can I ask just another question? Just across Mill Street in the little section that's labeled Parkway, there's a big tractor trailer. Is that yours also?
That's John Glidden's, I believe.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I
I think
just-
he's using it
I-
as storage.
okay. I was just asked it just for clarification. I wasn't sure. Okay. At this point, I can do we could do one of two things. We could continue the hearing to our next meeting, not adjourn it, but to continue it, to give you a chance to maybe do some more investigation, clarification, what you might want to do. Or to give you a little time to review what the regulations are, to review our own zoning ordinance. Since it's difficult just hearing something read to you, I understand that's not an ideal way to do something.
Now, what if we didn't do the recycling anymore? We just crossed over that and did just towing recovery and then worked on our own stuff in the building. Would that be a problem?
For working on your own stuff in the building, that's still, it seems to be mixing it in with the business. There's not a clean
Right.
separation. Yeah.
And I believe, having read some of these explanations of salvaged facilities and everything, it can include private citizens. It doesn't always have to be a definite business, it to be classified as being recycling or salvage. I guess the other thing in continuing this is to see the response from the property owner.
Mhm.
It might be a moot point in if the property owner decides he doesn't want to address a lot of the things that need to be addressed for you to actually be there. You might not be able to be there if he nullifies your lease. That's just one possibility. I'm not trying to second guess whoever, whatever somebody might decide, but that is within the realm of possibility that since the property owner has to make certain decisions on this as well.
Right.
Being that the
Yeah, if they
report
don't-
just came in
Yeah.
this afternoon,
Mhm.
I think everybody should have the opportunity to follow through, find out what the options are and what some of the decisions may be from the property owner, from you, the
Mhm.
business owner, and see what comes of that. So I would suggest that maybe continuing it would give everybody the opportunity to do that.
Mhm. And I do want to clarify something, and we mentioned this earlier also. Most of the items on that inspection list from the fire marshal are going to be the responsibility of the property owner. At the
Right.
same time, it is to your advantage to be in a place that's safe. We
Right.
we don't want to put business owners in an unsafe situation. It is not not a good, so while those concerns are the property owner's concerns, they do impact you having a safe place in which to work.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I echo Mardine. You need to have a safe, secure space for yourself, any of your staff, or anybody who may come into the building to do business with you. And that's one of our primary concerns. We want to encourage business, but at the same time, we want everyone to be safe, to follow the regulations, and be secure, because it also reflects back on our decision-making. That how could you let something like this happen, blah, 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 you know, that type of dialogue you might hear. We need to make sure all our i's are dotted and our t's are crossed to protect the towns, our zoning ordinances, and people who wish to do, let me put it this way, to encourage people to have their businesses in Ashland, we want to make them feel assured that it will be done they will have a safe and secure place to conduct their business.
Right,
So-
yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. Because there were some serious issues that were pointed out. So what I would suggest, I'm going to make this recommendation, is that we continue the public hearing. And what that means, Mr. Farnham, is we will not close the public hearing. We will leave the public hearing open to our next meeting, which is March 24th at 6:30. So we do not have to notice the abutters again, because the continuation informs people when and where we will next continue this particular discussion. So I would accept a motion to do that.
I'll make that motion, Mardi.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
Okay.
Poor Paul.
Okay, so the motion is to continue this public hearing to our next meeting, which is March 24th of 2021. Our meeting starts at 6:30. So we will continue the public hearing and finish our discussion before we reach a decision. So in the meantime, Mr. Farnham, I will forward you our zoning ordinance language. I will forward you the RSA, the relevant RSA information. You have a copy now of the inspection report. And we will continue this discussion then.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. And in the meantime, Mr. Farnham, if you have any questions, concerns, use our planning board email. Let us know if you need assistance with something or have a question about something.
Perfect. I will do that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Yes,
Farnham.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, some of the language can be very dense in RSAs. You might have to read them a few times.
We
And
all
it-
do.
And if you have any questions, you can contact Susan and she could probably help assist you if some things are not clear to you.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you very much,
All right.
Mr. Farnham.
yep,
Thank you.
good night.
Okay.
I don't know why I have my mouse out. It's not like I can use it. Let me
I
just
do-
click away.
I do want to just share one thing, just for clarification before our next meeting. I do also have the plan of the building, and let's see, let me just close this for a minute. I just want to clarify with everybody what areas he is using.
Okay,
So that we're ready for our next meeting. Let's see, I want to share screen. I need to bring up. Gotta get the right. There we go. Okay. come on. Okay, can you see that plan? I will enlarge it.
Okay.
Is it, okay,
Is it the area where it says overhead door?
partly. Let me zoom back out again for just a minute. Down the right hand side of this image is Mill Street.
Yep.
Okay, this is Main Street right up here.
Mhm.
And coming down Mill Street, and it's the first large building on the right-hand side as you come down. Okay, now let me zoom in and I'll show you which areas he's using, just so that it's clear for next time. He is using, there is a ramp with overhead doors.
Oh.
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Okay.
using the section that's labeled dollar store storage.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
And-
approved for Ecker. If
Yes,
you remember
And-
the auto
yes.
antique.
Oh, yep.
And he's using two other areas, the area over here labeled storage
Mm-hmm.
and the area labeled powder coat ink.
Okay.
So he's using 1, 2, 3
Three
areas.
spaces.
Yes. Just wanted to clarify that the next time.
Okay.
Okay,
But a lot of the parking is on the outside there too.
yes,
Yes, and I think
Yes.
that's why I was a little confused because the
Mhm.
vehicles spread over.
all in through here.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
There are 2 other occupants that I think the building inspector, code enforcement will have to deal with.
Okay.
Similar things in different areas. So I think I won't say any names, but we will refer those to the building
To-
inspector, code enforcement to deal with.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
good.
So that, okay. Paula, turn your sound back on again for a moment. It wasn't as bad this
No.
still is. It almost sounds like a fan maybe on your computer or something. I don't
Marty,
know.
that
Well, I have the heating system for the building underneath my apartment.
No,
that
you've
was the
never had that
same-
problem before.
No,
Yeah.
this
no,
is the
that was
first.
the
This is
same
the first
issue I
time.
had.
Yeah. Or do you have any fan or
I
air
have
freshener or something running?
I have nothing in here.
Okay.
The only thing I'm
Okay.
hearing is the machinery downstairs.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
no, but you can keep your sound on for the, I don't think we're going to be too much longer.
I think Zoom places quite a load on an older
Yeah.
computer
But anyway,
because once I switched to
Yeah.
a newer one with less on it.
Yeah.
I no longer had to deal
but
with.
it may not,
the
it may not even be the computer, but we don't know. So now it sounds fine, Paula.
Yeah.
You're
We're not
right.
hearing-
I haven't done anything.
Okay.
Honest. I'm
I
just
know
as
you
quiet
haven't.
now as I was when I started.
Yes. Oh, it's perfect right now.
Wow. Ooh.
Okay. So next meeting, March 24th.
Yeah.
Susan, we've now got 2 things coming back. We'll have Farnham coming back to continue. And what's the other one that we've got on the agenda for March 24th?
Well, John Volpe asked if he could bring in the plans as they exist right now for yet another consultation before moving forward with what kind of application he would actually need, which I would think is multifamily, even though it is in separate buildings. No building
Yeah.
might have 3 dwelling units. However, it almost is like a cluster, like a mini cluster.
Mhm, yeah.
Mm.
And that's for the property on Winter Street,
Mhm.
Yep.
where he's adding a formerly town-owned piece to the back end of his property.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would look at that as like a cluster, a small
Mhm.
cluster.
Yeah. So will he be coming in with a kind of first idea plan?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he said that he had some fleshed out plans and that,
Okay.
again, Tony Goyette is involved. So
Okay,
at
yeah.
some point he has some idea of what actually is going to be built.
okay,
Um,
yeah.
And if he just even used the word cluster, that's something again, that Barry Gaw had suggested at some point when he's ready to talk about
Mhm,
sort of the next phase of Squam River Landing,
mhm.
kind of revisiting the idea of cluster that is kind of and our subdivision plans that are contrary to what a cluster actually is. It allows them, but then it says that you have to build them the same as any regular house, which doesn't quite make sense.
So
So-
could you um, remind them if they've got some plans for us to look at to get them to us ahead of time?
Right.
Also digitally so we can share. And could you,
Yeah, part of that would be that what is already there will be an as-built plan to show what
Yes.
actually they're working with now as to where
Right.
all the lots are and where the houses are.
Mhm, yeah, and indicate to us which sections of our ordinances we probably should review along with this cluster idea or anything that would be relevant. Just a quick list of the section numbers. We need to put that together for all of us, I think.
Right.
Make sure we
How
don't
old
miss
is
something.
the cluster definition?
That I'm not sure of. The subdivision regulations were in place before we had zoning, because the planning board was
Okay.
established in 1950, and they were allowed to do subdivision regulations. But you couldn't have zoning until you had a master plan, and then they didn't have the master plan until the early 80s.
Yeah,
Mhm.
In the meantime, they had something in place called the environmental ordinance, which addressed some of the issues that a zoning ordinance does.
so there could be whole new language that we need to
Yeah, so I'm not sure
right.
when
review.
the idea of cluster crept in there.
Mhm.
And the idea is that you can balance that all the lot sizes had to be to the standard. However, you could put all the houses in one place, and then the balance of what would make, like if you had 10 houses at an acre each, so you had 10 acres, that you'd have all the houses within 2 acres, so you could have 8 acres of green space.
Right.
The only way to do that is to modify or get rid of the idea of setbacks. But then the subdivision regulations say you can have a cluster, however, you still had to go by all the setbacks and other criteria.
Mhm.
Well, it's not a cluster if you have everybody at a minimum of 50 feet apart.
Mhm.
So,
The subdivision regulations, our subdivision regulations were first adopted in 1974 and last amended in 2014. But
Okay,
to be able to track what pieces came in at what point, I don't know.
you know, I could look at some of the books that are upstairs that appeared that there was some like history of
Mm.
the various regulations, and,
Yes.
and you'd have to read all of them to see what year they actually were.
When each little element was added to the
I'd like to say
regulations.
that the idea of cluster developments was really big in the early 90s.
yes, yes.
And it might have gone into there to address what was coming up as the next new housing idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Environmentally conscious,
Right.
with the
Mhm.
green space and, a lot of times the designs needed to be complementary. So the visual effect fit a certain,
yeah, and even
I can't think of the word at the time, so it was
And even
less
if-
intrusive,
Right.
maybe.
right, and a lot of times the trade-off was that there would be conservation easements in as part of the package of the green space. And I know one that when I was working for the planning board in Deering, one that had come up was they also were going to have sort of a community septic system, because there was no municipal system to hook into. But rather than each and every house having their own one, they were going to have an infrastructure to support the entire development.
And a community well at times too.
Right.
Shared utilities, resources.
So I hazard a guess it might have come in somewhere in the 90s.
Probably.
But it
Yeah.
needs to be addressed
Yeah.
once again, because now housing is yet another hot topic in this state.
Mhm. Okay, so we'll have those two items on our next meeting. Continuation of Farnham and Mr. Volpe of Commerce Properties coming in for Winter Street. I think I don't have anything else tonight. Andy, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fine. I think you handled that one well. I was kind of curious how that would go.
It's,
I'm glad he listened. He wasn't antagonistic, because that's what, it can go that way very easily.
So is Mr. Fitch going to be the next ex officio or alternate ex officio?
We will see.
Well, the plan is that I
Okay.
hope to continue, whether I'm appointed or an ex officio.
The plan is you get reelected and you stay right where you are. Thank you.
Oh, Andy.
okay, we won't, let's not go there right at the meeting. Okay. Anything else? Any other
We
business?
aren't going to do the commercial earth
No.
excavations application form draft.
No,
Okay.
Susan and I will finish up what we need to finish up on that, and we'll send out, and then we'll deal with it for probably next meeting. We'll be ready.
And perhaps we can plan on having a site walk on North Ashland Road, and perhaps Mr. Fitch can help facilitate that. So we know what an active
Oh, active
sand
excavation
Yep.
operation is.
Yep.
That would be a good idea.
Did you hear that, Andy?
I did. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to explain that one to Dawn.
I haven't ever been to an active excavation business. I've only been to one because conservation commissions have oversight on the how it's the reclamation. So I've only been to a pit that was now had ceased operation, and the how they were reclaiming it with the vegetation and whatnot. So I've never seen one that was still actively harvesting product.
And it would be just an educational,
Yes, yeah.
not inspection, educational.
Yeah,
Okay.
this isn't the time of year you want to
No,
go
oh, no.
visiting.
No,
no,
no.
We know
No.
that.
No, we don't. Yes, to visualize under the snow.
Okay, I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and we are adjourned.